What's up, everybody? Here today on the HMB live show. We're doing an early open mic for the week. We'll probably do one on Friday too. But the reason we're doing that is because I rescheduled our guest yesterday, and then she rescheduled today. So she'll be coming on hopefully mid-June. But until then, we'll do open mic today, and I think we have a lot of good stuff to talk about. So what's up, Ryan?
Yo, I apologize for the hair. It is quarantine hair. It's the longest my hair I think has been in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's gonna care, but the apology is warranted. Yeah, apology. Thank you. So, so let's talk about the obvious, which was how did the Memorial Day weekend go?
So it was good. I actually was down in Philadelphia and Jersey City. There's definitely a lot more people out than were there 2 weeks ago. So I think it was good. I had a good weekend though. How about you?
Yeah. So question is, with all the people out, how many were wearing masks and how many weren't?
Same observation that I had from a few weeks ago. Philadelphia, much more loose, not as many masks out there. I guess that's to be expected. And when you get to Jersey City, close to New York area, that's when you're seeing everybody with the mask still. So it just depends on your location.
Gotcha. Around me, there was a bunch of barbecues and stuff like that. So, and none of those people were wearing masks where I am. So, and I'm very South Jersey. So, yeah, hopefully it felt like actually there was a holiday that could be celebrated that wasn't weird. Like I still am dreading the 4th of July, like possibilities. Cause I'm just thinking like, crowds of people with, face masks on during fireworks. I don't know. It doesn't seem to add up to me.
My guess is you're going to see that if you are at a fireworks display show, it's probably going to be the requirement to be there. That's my guess.
I think you're right. I think you're right. It'll just be like standard procedure for a gathering, which will be like, you know what? I'm going home. Period. I'm not doing it. I won't be part of this.
At the same time, my complaint always was at 4th of July parades is like you have like 20 people all right next to you. So now everyone's gonna be forced to spread out. I don't know. Could be good. Okay. Could be good.
It's an ironic thing though that it's a celebration of freedom while you wear your mask, right? You literally can't be any higher. So also over the weekend we had golf. So I would normally not talk about golf on the show, but the thing is, everybody in the whole world needed sports. Like there was this, it didn't matter what you were, maybe even if you didn't need sports, you needed this. So I thought it was interesting that the most watched golf event in the history of golf television was the Sunday event with Tiger and Manning versus Brady. And
I would have guessed it was Tiger Woods that held the TV record. But I would not have guessed it would be Tiger Woods for a charity event with just him, right? Like, I'm not surprised he has the record. I'm just surprised what the record event is.
Yeah, so I have the share screen up, and it says it peaked at 6.3 million viewers, 5.8 on average.
That's those Super Bowl numbers.
Are they really? Probably.
Super Bowl is close to like 10 million, but I mean, can you imagine if it was the Super Bowl, what kind of numbers they would have seen?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the desperation we have for sports right now in this country are like off the charts. And like literally you can't, the numbers don't lie. So everybody watched it. It was just like, it felt good to watch it. It felt good to have something. And, for me and you, it was fun to gamble. But for most people just watching, it probably just felt good to have something going on the weekend that wasn't CNN talking about COVID or something, you know what I mean?
Of course, it was still about COVID, but yes, it was nice to have.
Yeah, they definitely keep it still about COVID, but it's nice to not hear that word. I want like a sporting event that just doesn't talk about it, but that's gonna be a long time, I think, before we see that. So we had that. That was pretty interesting. What did I have? I had Tom Brady going into the bunker before Peyton Manning. I had a 5-1 boost on my odds, so I bet $10, made $60 on it. Felt pretty good.
I picked Peyton for that one. I lost that one.
Yeah. I just figured he had more retirement time, so he's been staying out of bunkers more, even though they both hit it in the bunker on the first one, but technically Tom Brady went first. So, but Tom Brady totally redeemed himself later in that match. I wonder what the odds were for him to have made birdie or dunked it on that hole that he dunked from like 100 yards out. It was probably like 10,000 to 1 or more.
Yeah, I don't think anyone took that bet.
No, I'm waiting. I've been trying to read to somebody grab a headline where somebody was able to like, somebody placed that crazy bet. You always see that like one person that took that crazy bet.
It was too early in the match. People weren't drunk enough yet.
Or paying attention, really. Or expecting it. Like, I don't even like just expected another crappy shot out of Tom Brady. That's what I expected. So this was an interesting headline I saw this morning. If you check out your screen. So this was, I don't know, I mean, looks like legitimate source, but Newsweek said, so Japan ends coronavirus emergency with 850 deaths total and no lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, you got Georgia and Florida who are showing the same thing locally. I mean, you can't compare it fully to, like, say, New York City and whatnot, just because you have the entire world traveling to New York City, where, I mean, you still have people traveling to Japan. I'm not trying to say they don't, but just the amount of people going specifically to New York City, you can't compare New York City to like Florida or Georgia or Japan. You just can't. You see all those statistics. That said, I do think there's a lot going on in terms of who's reporting what numbers. I mean, does Japan have the same hospital policy that U.S. has, in the sense of, hey, if you have a COVID patient, here's $20,000, right? So, like, what countries have that?
Have incentivized the death.
Have incentivized, the corona.
Well, I mean, if that's true, then that means the numbers over here are significantly less than that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I think everybody's, at this point, just saying, like, I'll be careful, open up, please, so I can go to work.
Yeah.
That's it. Because it doesn't matter what data you're going to look at. There's going to be somebody saying, no, it's bullshit data, one way or the other.
Yeah. I was just talking to Ann about this. So I was saying that, like, even with the data, like, being wrong, which it just obviously is, who knows, over the boards, but the standard deviations away from the reported data to be like so wrong that it would make it like a real pandemic or plague type scenario are just impossible. Right. So, like, the standard deviation, let's say it's like maybe they're hit or miss by 10,000, 100,000, like whatever, like 10%, 15, whatever that number is. It's not like they're wrong by 1,000%. Right. Or otherwise everybody be dying around us. So, right. Yeah, I think at this point, like, they're doing a good job in the media of shifting the, in like 6 months, we're not going to hear the word COVID again until they have a vaccine, and they're going to want to like try to, but that's a different story. But right now they're just shifting their weight over to China and Hong Kong. So that's, I don't know. Are we going to war soon? What's going on there with the Hong Kong world? Have you been keeping up with that?
Well, hopefully it means the coronavirus thing's on its way out. If they have to start filling news back up with different stories. I don't know. I'm not going to follow that stuff. I never follow the news because it's all just hype. Just
scare tactics anyway. I think a lot of people after this are going to be that, people that were really, I have noticed such an overlay of like so many people just not talking about, following the news or getting scared about it and annoyed with it. I saw that. I know you
very annoyed with it.
Yeah, I saw that Reddit link you said, which was, for people that, are for the quarantine, what do you need to see? And then there was like, I need, all these things that they scare you with. I need, vaccines. I need this. I need that. And they had all these things in there. These people were listing, but it was a bit of a loaded post, I thought, because the post said, for those that are for quarantine, what's your opinion, as opposed to, everybody wasn't invited to that conversation. And then I noticed that, I don't know if the current status of that post on Reddit, what it is now, but I noticed there weren't a lot of posts. Like, there weren't a lot of responses relative to what I would expect for something like that. It might've been new. I didn't really check the hours on it.
Yeah, exactly. Meaning you would expect like an uproar of people saying, here's what we got to do. Here's the plan. It wasn't there's no concise census from people who are against it, right? It's like, because you got to propose that question to everyone right now. Like, okay, if you are not for opening up, what would, for you, what would it satisfy to open us up, right? And it's just like, you kind of like get startled, right? Like, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. That's one way to look at it too, for sure. So I don't know. I just think I'm ready to not talk about it on the show anymore, which would be nice. I do think let's talk about some real estate stuff. So I have noticed that, and this is kind of expected. So we had a pretty big push the week before last week in terms of the last 2 or 3 weeks, which I think was in essence our spring market is what we get every year. We have a spring market. I think our spring market is just kind of died down. At least for me, it is. I noticed that the slowdown over the holiday weekend was very high for me. I don't know if you noticed that. Did you have mine was like a screeching halt, if you ask me, but I'm sure that'll pick back up over the next week or so.
Yeah. I mean, I would say from a lender's perspective, this is my guess as to what's going on in behind the scenes for buyers is right now. So if you've never done a deal or you're going to do a deal, a lot of the times contracts are set to close or settle near the end of the month. That's just common what you see. So I think what's happening is a lot of people right now, for the last several months, really, I probably, saying near the end of March, definitely saw it in April. And I think I just saw it again for May, is that people, they reach out to us, they get our numbers, they get our lending amount, and then they're trying to shop, but they're realizing every time they call somebody, they call a broker, they call another lender, everything's changed for them. And they just, it's not even that they aren't happy with our numbers. It's more, they're just like anyone. If you're going to get a new car or something, you're probably going to you're going to do some research, get different pricing points out there. Right. And what's happening is they end up coming back to us 2 weeks before closing, just saying, all right, I'm ready to go. Right. So I think we're going to see a consistent theme of this for several months. I don't think it's going to be just right now. I think we're going to see it June, July, August, where our busy week as the lender, when people are deciding to go with us, will be probably the second to third week of each month. I bet is what we'll consistently see here.
I could see that until like the realization of like hard money is where it is and people understand. And like, there's going to be some companies that start to come back a little bit, or it's going to be private lenders. It'll never, at least for a long time, is not going to be what we saw, which was just a gross display of cheap money on the streets and anybody can get their hands on it. It'll be a while before we see that again. Banks are still way too scared. I mean, I just saw an article about Goldman, their distressed assets, they're starting a round of foreclosures on the distressed assets. Well, Goldman along the way had gotten into our business by buying out other companies or being their debt supporter or their warehouse line. So like, there's like a whole lot of cleanup that still needs to happen right now for other companies that are taking a bath. So once they get through the cleanup, then they'll start putting the money back out there. And, but the cleanup takes, a year and a half of legal and whatever. So, it'll be a while before we see that kind of atmosphere again in our space, for sure.
I totally agree. And I think that's something that a lot of people just aren't aware of, that the ripple effect of this for the investment world specifically, we're going to be feeling it in different ways over the next year, 2, 3 years, because it could be longer because of the unknown on the foreclosure process right now. Like, how many people are going to be going through foreclosure? What is this process going to look like once the courts open up? Are people actually going to be able to get kicked out? Because we still hear stories of how people went 10 years basically without paying a single month's rent before they get kicked out, right? And that was before this craziness happened. So what's going to happen? And that's the big question that nobody knows. And lenders, especially banks, are gonna not touch it until that's more clear. So I think that ripple effect's gonna be quite some time before we see any sort of opening up from other lenders. Fortunately, you have private lenders like us who are opened up to keep things moving as best we can right now.
Yeah, I think that's you know, there's never going to be a timing element, but it's not going to be, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you are, the bounce back is not going to be the speed of what people thought, because it wasn't just like, okay, everybody, the economy's opening back up. The problem is the chokehold on money right now behind the scenes doesn't come back as fast as people, you know, would want that were in the business. So, you know, it is what it is. We did okay there in that front. So, in terms of the way we kind of build our business. But so anyway, so the Japan thing was interesting. I like my new style here too, of like, so I tab out my thoughts on the search engine, so then I can bring it up on the share screen. Like, I'm getting good at being Jamie here.
Yeah, Jamie's doing a lot better.
Yeah. So that was the other thing. I don't necessarily want to play this video because this lady looks like she's going to say something stupid. I don't know what she says, but it looks dumb, probably, right? So
politician, of course it is.
Yeah, let's just close that and move on to the next one. This was an interesting headline. So this is something you alluded to earlier, which was stop all these pop-ups.
It's dangerous to do this in real time, but you know, maybe we'll get something funny on here.
Yeah. So as a diehard New Yorker who never imagined leaving the city after COVID-19, I can't wait to leave. So, you know, you have the math, you know, and I read another article earlier this week about, you know, one of the realtors down here posted how there's a mass exodus out of New York into like New Jersey suburbs and stuff. I think
it's been going on for some pre-coronavirus. It's kind of been happening.
Yeah, and I do think you'll see a pop. I think everyone wants to talk about the boom, whatever boom you're going to see out of this. Just like I think you'll see it out of Philly. You'll see a bunch of people that'll go, and then it'll just die back down when everybody's not scared anymore. And then they'll be like, I like the amenities in the city. I'm good. You know, I don't know. Nobody seems to have corona. I'm going to stay here. But I do think you'll see
Agreed.
a boom, an initial like elastic reaction to this. I don't know how long that lasts. I don't know. You know, I don't know. But this is, you know, these articles are popping up, so it's going to be realistic. So good for the suburb realtors are going to be in good shape, and quite frankly, the city realtors as well, because they have one side has to list and one side has to buy. So there might be a boom in just simply I guess the reason for moving will be temporary due to this. So
yeah, I think you're going to see the boom that you're talking about, I think, is favorable towards middle class. I think that what we're going to see take a hit is the suburb areas that are maybe the $100,000 to the $300,000 range. And I say that because typically when you're in there, you just have more people with not as strong credit. You know, it's just what it is. So when that's the case, they're not getting loans from banks. So inventory is not going to move as much there. So you might see an interesting buyer-seller balance there. I think this little boom that we're talking about will be a middle-class 300,000 plus range that we're going to see. And I think it'll be short. Like you said, I don't think it's something that's like a massive trend we're going to see in society or anything. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a recoil from what we've seen over the last 3 months. Yeah.
You know what I'm blown away by? I'm still blown away that when we run these things that people don't promote their business in here. Like, we've had a couple people. I had one lady earlier who, let me see if I can bring this. Probably can. Here, I'll put this on the share screen. So this was, so I said, post your, you know, or put your business in here, free advertising. Because I mean, honestly, anybody that right now wants to, you know, boom, everybody needs help with their business right now. They do. I don't care what they say, you know. So I'm just surprised more people didn't take advantage of this. But this was the individual, the lady from KW Philadelphia that put her card in there. Yeah, so she put it in there. She's more than welcome to join us. But I'm just shocked because it goes out to so many people. Like right now, if people watch this, you know, there'll be hundreds of thousands of people that will see this on the distribution list.
In your local market too, right?
Yeah, right here. These are all the people that you want to talk to, right? So, but it was good that she.
Well, I mean, let's do it here. Here's our commercial break for Parisha Smith, looking for a real estate agent in Philadelphia. Give her a call. So thanks, Parisha.
Parisha Smith at kw.com. Cell phone 215-834-3030. She will most likely be somebody that is going to be helping somebody sell a house that's moving into the suburbs due to the boom that we just talked about. So anyways, I thought that was, I've been You know what? Part of me is surprised. Part of me is completely not surprised. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this in the sense of we don't really hide anything at all with our business process. We tell everyone what we do,
right.
which would be scary in some ways because you're like, wouldn't you get a competitor? Well, I don't know. I guess it's the challenges out there. Nobody ever. We don't think nobody does it. We tell everybody exactly how we operate our business.
Yeah, it's just it's just the executor, right? Like we've had all these, high level players on the show, and it's just like they all have the same thing in common. Like it does not matter. Our widget happens to be selling money. That's it. Like there's nothing else to it. We just sell money, and that it didn't really matter what you kind of put on what widget we were selling. It was just going to work out with the people involved. And I think the same thing holds true for every industry and every company that succeeds or fails. And I was talking to Ann's sister started a business, her company that sells milk from their farm, and
Ian's wife's sister.
Yeah, Ian's wife's sister. So and she was like putting this together mentally. She was going through the what ifs and stuff like that. And one of the things she said was, she sent me an article about some business, some milk business going out of business, and hey, is this represent the whole milk industry? Is it bad and stuff like that? And I'm like, in my head, I'm just thinking like every industry. Immediately, I thought it's the operator. Like I didn't think it was the industry at all. It didn't even cross my mind. It was just like, oh, somebody wasn't a good operator. Somebody had like a victim mentality. Somebody didn't understand how to run this business because, I think at the other end of it. And my answer to that was like, take the raw milk guy. I forget his name, but in California, he's in 700 stores across the state and sells at $14 or $15 a gallon. I'm like, the dude's killing it, same industry, different operator. Right. So I just think it's so important with that kind of stuff is the operator of whatever widget you're dealing with. So to do that, you take advantage of it, and more people should be taking advantage of free advertising, because otherwise, if you don't take advantage of this free advertising, you can go pay for it somewhere else. Right.
Yeah. I mean, Jesse's listening. Jesse Briggs. What up, Jesse?
I was talking to Jesse like last week.
Heard we were selling money and he decided to listen in. Caught his ear.
Jesse's doing he gets like Jesse gets really deep into anything, like at all. Like he just whatever he's into, there's no halfway, right? It's like it's as far as you could possibly go. So he got interested by in like strongman competitions.
Okay.
And, so I guess you're not friends with Jesse on Facebook. You should be. So there's always videos of him like, he was like, Jesse's he's a strong guy to begin with, but, he wasn't competing in strongman or anything. And then all of a sudden, like I'm watching his videos and like, he's putting on like 10 extra pounds and he's getting like burly. And he's like, these guys are just huge builds on these guys. And he's picking up stones the size of like small villages and like dropping them on things. And then it was like deadlifting and bench pressing. Before you know it, like he looks like he could be on TV with like these competitions. He just goes all in with whatever he does. And he's an operator that chose to run a gym in El Paso, Texas, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu based gym that also does like, other activities as well. And he's just the operator. It didn't really matter where you put him. You put him in El Paso, Texas. Like, what is the market for anything in El Paso, Texas? Probably not where you think of, I want to start a booming, business, but that's where he lived. And he just, easily became the best in El Paso, Texas. And now he's thinking about expanding out to either Dallas or Austin. I forget what it was, but like, it didn't matter. You put him in any environment, any widget, running a gym in an area that can't,
I'm sure there's many other gyms that are closing there, and he's thinking about expanding.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And it's just the operator. That's Jesse, right? He's all in, full energy, full focus, right? So that's really what it comes down to in terms of, I find, in general with people.
I mean, Jesse, we're always asking around the country, just trying to get a pulse. If you're still listening, what's going on with your gym? I mean, here in New Jersey and Philly, the center stage is this gym that's reopened up because they are illegally reopened up. So just curious if your gym's having any impacts there and what you guys are doing. So feel free to tell us your story.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe he'll chime in, but as far as I knew, Jesse, I mean, he was abiding by. He was annoyed like everybody else, but abiding by the the shutdown. But he was thinking of alternative ways where there was like personal training things or whatever. I'm sure I know without a doubt he's going to support that guy opening that gym just like the rest of us should. And
well, I mean, that goes back to your operator point. Like, he didn't shut down. Instead, the first thing he did was say, okay, what are alternative ways here we can bring?
He adapted, yeah.
Whatever industry. We always talk about the real estate, right? That's what we have on. We have our
Jay says he says legally I can't answer that. So,
well, okay. I more mean, like, is El Paso, like, are they putting down sanctions? Are they trying to keep you guys closed? Is it locked down there is basically what I'm asking. Is that what they're trying to do?
I think in El Paso right now, I mean, it's Texas, right? So Texas, whatever you do to Texas, if you take away any of their freedoms, I mean, that was where the very first standoff came from that lady in The Nation, right? Was like, I'm not shutting my place down. And the next thing you know, there was people like armed civilians keeping her store open, right?
And that governor had the proper response of, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, just back off. Just everybody stop. Everybody, let's be reasonable here. She wants to serve some alcohol or like cut some hair. I don't even know what the hell it was, but it didn't really matter. It's like, this is crazy. Just be, but it's also Texas, right? And you think of like, what's his name? Like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk are like moving to Texas. Well, everybody's going to move to Texas. But Jesse, oh, there you go. Jesse says, yeah, he says that's exactly what the deal is. Like, open back up, but the police are more careful. It was, in my opinion, the way that they did it in New Jersey, it wasn't very careful, and they should have done it.
Still isn't.
Yeah, it wasn't care. Like, they didn't do it right in New Jersey. They're not doing it right in New Jersey. Like, and there was a thing like I don't know if you saw in Philly last night. They broke up a Memorial Day party in the brewery town. Like, what are you doing? You're turning on your citizens. Do it Texas style. Just back off. It'll be fine. Nobody's dying from COVID. Like, just back off. But I'm beating a dead horse. I'm sure across the nation. I'm sure Larry Steinhaus is somewhere doing something to screaming at the top of his lungs about it.
All right, I got something if you want to change here.
Okay.
So prepared this. I'll make a clip out of this, and this will go out to our 100,000 viewers. We'll make sure anybody who advertises their business is in this video too. But okay, so I'm going to pretend like I'm a new investor. All right. And I'm going to ask you to answer these questions.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
It's not even just a new investor, but all right. Q&A. Question 1. And by the way, these I gotta give props to my wife. She helped me with these.
Okay.
So thanks, Jen, if you're listening. Is it? She said you're welcome. I just heard her in the other room. Is it worth investing right now?
So my answer is it depends on where you are in your game. So if you are a new investor, I would say meet some people that are not new investors and learn to see what the hell they're doing to survive this time. Pay attention to who got knocked out as well. So in case you were listening to them or not listening to them, but if you're a repeat investor or you've got experience, my answer is you probably notice the same thing, which is, quite frankly, not much has changed just yet in the market space. So business as usual for most repeat investors. But for the new ones, you got to be careful because we're not sure this is over with. And, liquidity has changed and the ability to get things done. You're not going to be able to get yourself out of such a bad situation as easily. So those things are a consideration. So that's my answer there.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit my next question, but basically, what are the pros and cons? Basically, the difference of pre-coronavirus and now, if you were to start, like what are some pros and cons versus before?
Pros are you're playing with pros now. More pros are in the business. Yeah. So with the pros being in here, it's easier to deal with more closings happening in terms of like knowing they're going to come through, stronger buyers, stronger deals, stronger connections with individuals that you didn't have before. Cons, prices are going to be affected. So, and they're starting to be affected. So not that much though, not enough where I'd say outweighs the pros right now. Hold on, right before you jump to the next question I got. So Jesse says, Jay saw it as a time to make a change in his biz. I was afraid to do because I'd lose a few members. He revamped, keep my pulse on the markets, and need to make those adjustments. Just like every other successful person that we've had on the show.
Right.
What is he saying? He's saying, I'm just going to adapt. Like, you got two options, adapt or die. And when I say die, it means like, what are you going to do? Just stop? Like, you're going to quit? No. So you have to move in a direction. So choose the direction where you're adapting. And that's what he did. I mean, that's why the operator, Jay wants to be on the show. Dude, you can be on the show anytime you want, man. Click the link. How do I click? Here, wait. Let's see.
I see a comment as well from a Jamie
Yeah,
Steve.
I'm going to check that in 1 second. Jay, I put the StreamYard in the comments. Let me see. I don't know. Oh, I thought there was a link. Wait a minute. Wait.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a link. Don't know if I can click it. Right? Can you see what that is? Hopefully it's safe. How long are the terms of the loan issuance to closing in months? For what we do, 24 hours. I'll close tomorrow.
It's safe. Like he's advertising.
Oh, he's advertising. Oh, okay. Safe. It's safe. Well, let's get him up. Business. We can close the loan in 24 hours, but we're just a different animal than most like traditional lending. So let's see what trying to bring it up. All right, you talk, Ryan. Let me try to get this up real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we're a short-term lender, so I'm not sure if you're asking about long-term loans there, but we're a short-term lender up to 5 years. So, I mean, our whole deal is we're as close as you get to asking a buddy for funds here. You send us the project, and then I send you back saying, hey, here's what I'm comfortable lending on it. So we can meet you tomorrow. If title's in, title always takes longer, but sometimes you have title ready to go when you get our numbers, and we can meet you tomorrow. So that's our whole spiel. Ian's getting you your business up there.
I'm trying to right now, but it's not. Do you have the link, Ryan? Can you send it to me on the? Sure. I'm not seeing it in the comments. Yeah, just send it over Gmail.
Have Jamie set it up. So yeah, it looks like Jamie is a broker manager of Jamie Steve, a realtor. So
I see it. Okay.
Assuming you work with some investors, Jamie. So feel free to connect with us. Happy to answer any questions you got.
Here comes the share screen. My favorite part. Glenn Kelly Real Estate LLC, treating clients like family. So that's cool. Jamie is let's see if you can't see his. I don't know if you can see it on the actual screen, but it's Jamie JAMIESTEVER realtor.com, JAMIEPSTEVER at Comcast.net. So there you go. That is smart advertising.
I'm going to teach you a computer trick. Hold control and mouse wheel forward.
I know you told me this last time.
There you go.
Look at that. It's working. Oh, man. Front and center. Front and center.
Right in the middle of our QA as well, so it's going to be perfect.
Good. Oh, there's Jesse. He's coming on. Bring him on. Briggs.
Hey, what's up, man?
Dude, what up, Jesse?
I was trying to describe that beard to the viewers. Look at that thing. Look how thick that is. You could shoot that with a bullet and it would deflect it, guaranteed.
That is an Alaskan forester beard.
Radio check.
Also.
There we go.
Yeah.
How you guys doing?
Good, dude. So everybody that's going to be seeing this is Jesse, originally from New Jersey, currently lives in Texas. He's the guy we were talking about with the gym that, the operator, it comes down to the operator. But dude, what do you think about that Attila's gym, man, in Jersey? It's like right down the road from where May, her family live.
Uh-oh, we lose Jesse?
Yeah, in Mattawan, right?
Yeah, dude. What do you think of that, man? That was nuts, right? Like,
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, dude, it was terrible, man. It was terrible. Okay, hold on. Let's see. All right. Let's see here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it seems like a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. Yeah, man, it's crazy, dude. I mean, I can't understand. My thing too is just these police officers, dude, man. You got to have a real set. to just not even think about what you're doing and just arrest somebody for, it's like you were sworn to protect somebody's Fourth Amendment rights and you were literally violating them.
And just to preface this, for those who don't know who Jesse is, Jesse serves our country as well. I don't know if you still do, Jesse, but I know you did, serving on our border patrol. So, he's someone who can say these things and get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can say it, but Jesse can say it from a perspective of like, he's basically saying like, I served the country, and I wouldn't have made that decision in that capacity the way those guys did, right? Like they arrested a guy for not telling his name. Like, what are you supposed to be protecting us? Like, I don't get it, right? So, I don't think, Jesse lives in Texas, and Texas does it differently, but I don't think he does it any different than the rest of the nation. So it was disheartening. And I know that hit home for you, Jesse, because guys around here with gyms that are hurting, dude. Like, you watch that and you're like, that's a loss for everyone to watch that happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny because like some people try to like shame you for working and stuff. And it's just like who's really at risk? It's you can kind of get into that. And I'm like, I kind of think of it like there's dudes in South Africa who swim in the marshes where it's like the largest gathering of great white sharks because they have these conch shells, and these things are worth like thousands of dollars each. So like a dude can feed his family from one of these shells, but like all of them know somebody got eaten by a great white shark. And it's like, they're like, oh, you're risking your life to do this and that. And you're like, these people do this every day knowing that. And it's like, nobody's worried about them, Yeah. And I don't know.
Dude, I think it's, we've blown this way the hell out of proportion. And now, I actually think the irony of it is that it's turned. So the agenda was to get it all locked down, right? Well, it's opened the eyes. Like, then if you try this again to the rest of the nation, right? If you go to the nation like 6 months from now, we have this big virus coming in, everybody's going to lock down the nation. Everybody's going to be like, go F yourself, right? Like, we're not moving. You're not getting us twice. So I feel like this overreaction might have actually empowered people. I really do to some extent, because at this point, who the hell is obeying any of this? Like, most people are just going back to work. What are you going to do? I'm going back to work, right? Briggs, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, dude. So, Texas, are you guys open or no, or not yet? Or
totally. Yeah, dude. We're open. We were allowed to open on the 16th.
Okay.
Or maybe it was the 18th. I don't remember.
I assume your gym doesn't have a bunch of people.
But I might have just a small piece of time. But just stand by real quick. I'm gonna be out because I'm gonna lose my signal for a second. But I'll be right back with you.
All right. Just move them off the stream for a moment. So yeah, that's I'm glad Jesse's gym's back open. I was going to kind of ask him where potentially his business. I don't want to get into too much personal, but like the revenue, how the revenue to take a hit, how much you have to get back. That's a really curious statistic that I'm interested in knowing as well for any business, which is going to be how do you, how long did it take you to recover the revenue you had? Because a lot of these companies like restaurants and stuff, like they're not coming back. But I'm thinking about like, a business like Jesse's that I'm like, okay, like there's going to be an actual measurement of I lost this much business and it took me this much time to get it back. And I'm curious to know nationwide what that number is going to be for the businesses that didn't get wiped out. So I don't know if you can still hear us. Not sure.
Yeah, I'm back a little bit. I kind of heard a piece of what you're saying about building business.
Yeah, I was curious.
When I started, there were a couple of things you kind of told me, some advice you gave me that kind of stuck with me was basically using the rule of two. And it's basically like if you think something's going to cost a certain amount, double that amount, right? And when you're first starting out and you're trying something new, whatever time frame you think to get to where you need to be, you're going to multiply it by 2. And then on the flip side of that, let's say if you had to rebuild a business, I remember you telling me that it's probably going to take you about half the time. So dividing it. So I think using that rule of 2 can give you a good estimate. I mean, obviously it's going to be more or less in one way or the other, but just remembering that, like, if you built it before and you know the process, it'll probably take you half the time it took you to get there the first time, you know?
Yeah, I like that. And that'll probably be, so like, you know, if the COVID thing cost you, 30% hit on your revenue, you know how long it'll take you to get 30% back, and it'll be about half the time that would have taken you originally to get that. And that'll probably be a good indicator. I find that rule, like,
Exactly.
in general, ends up being just like, it's a good way of squashing lying to yourself. Like, because everybody wants to believe that they can do it in like this much time. And like, basically when you set a time limit, I think, or a budget, you're basically looking in a mirror and deciding how much of an optimist or pessimist you are. And like that rule of 2 pretty much like balances that out and goes, I don't care how optimistic or pessimistic you are. This is the reality amount of time. Because like an optimist might be like 30 days, a pessimist might say 45. So but you're like, okay, 60 to 90 days. And it gives you like, a more realistic end of it. And I've always found that, I find that every day, like all of our flip projects, Ryan, how many flip projects are like, guys are like, hey, it's going to take 30 to 4 months, 60 grand it is, right? Like, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So I like your mentality.
I remember because I was going to
go ahead.
Yeah, I think I was going to start my business with like 10 grand or something like that, like 10,000. And you're like, yeah, just double it just in case. And it was good advice. Because it's better to know you have that stream of revenue to work with than to be in a situation where you're halfway there. I mean, I'd say I've seen about 7 or 8 businesses in El Paso where the owner had an idea of what they were going to spend, redo the floors in their business, do all this stuff, have this nice stuff. It was like a yogurt place, and they couldn't afford the yogurt machines, so they never launched anything. And then so they just went out of business, and then the next guy just gets a building with a nice floor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a perfect way to put it. That's exactly what happens, right? They were overly optimistic. They were thinking they were going to cut this corner and cut that corner. At the end of the day, they never even got to see if it was going to work out or not, which is unfortunate, but it's just, that's what it is. Somebody else comes in and cleans it up, and an investor goes, yep, looks good to me. I'm going to get free floors, free whatever, free counters.
Exactly.
The phrase we always say is, you want to be on the right side of wrong. So it's okay to be wrong. Like maybe you're all, but if you were initially saying it's going to cost me 10,000 and you double that to 20 and it only costs you 15,000, it's okay that you were wrong.
Yeah.
Because,
you won.
You're on the right side of wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always said that about our underwriting is like, that's the one thing I say. And like, I don't think I usually say that in the presentations and stuff. It's just like, I can't be wrong, but I always have, as long as I'm on the right side of wrong, I'm sorry, I can be wrong, but as long as I'm on the right side of wrong, I'm in good shape. And it's like a really confusing statement. But then it's like, when you really think about it, like Ryan said, like I could be wrong. I thought it was going to be 10 grand. It's 15, but I planned for 20. So I'm on the right side of wrong. And that really, protect your money at all costs, and everything else can work out. If you don't do that, you end up an ice cream shop without ice cream machines, and that's not where you want to be.
Sure. I totally agree with you, man. It's like, but also on the other end of it, we talked about expanding, and you're like, just understand, because I just think of like, man, it's been, I have my business. This will be 6 years in July. It's like thinking of, man, taking another 6 years of like building. It just seems so painful, but you forget that you're going to skip so many learning steps that it'll take you about half the time. And I'm like, okay, I can manage that,
Yeah. And that's exactly, and the only reason I can use that measurement stick is because I've done it. So my first business took me forever to build. The second business took me literally half that time. And they were different businesses. And then by the third business, it was like the multiplier effect kept working. So the first one was, let's say, like 5 years. Second one was to the same level at like 2.5 years. And then when we built this one, I was literally up to speed within a year or less. Just applying the same like skill sets, but I just knew what you have to do next. You don't have to like figure it out. You don't have to go through like 3 weeks of like trial and error. And every time you go through 3 weeks of this, and 2 weeks of that, and 5 weeks of this, is this working? Is that? You just take everything you know that worked, and it literally multiplies itself. So like your third expansion will take half the time of like your next expansion. So it's like an exponential multiplier effect. I don't know how many times that goes. Like, I don't know when you get to the point where like I could build this overnight, literally. Like, I don't know if you get to that point, but it definitely reduces itself each time. I know by the time you're on your 5th or 6th expansion, you're gonna be like, all right, in 60 days, we're gonna have 200 students in here. And like, hey, I don't know how fast that moves, but that'll happen for you.
Yeah, you just know all the pitfalls and everything kind of just starts to come into place, and like you don't have to hire somebody to solve some of your problems because you know what I mean, and you saw where you wasted money or things that didn't pan out, but you know, definitely.
I just want to call out you guys because a lot of people are watching this, maybe haven't started their business yet. You guys both said about 5 years for my first business. So if anybody's only been doing this for 6 months to a year, and you're feeling like it's not happening yet, well, you got to give it more time, right? Your first one's gonna be your hardest, might take you up to 5 years, maybe more, depending on what you're doing. It'll get easier next time, but just keep it in mind that these guys talking about successful businesses, it took them 5 years to get going.
Oh yeah. And I have in full disclosure and being transparent, like this is the first year where I kind of like, I don't know if you ever watch like those BUD/S classes, like those Navy SEALs, where they take those giant boats and they got to push them out in the water, and it's like really tumultuous water, right? You have these like it's kind of like with your business, it's like a wave where it's really up and down in the beginning, where you're just like, holy shit. Like you'll have a day, somebody will come in and give you $1,000. You're like, this is fucking amazing. I'm sorry for language. And then you'll have days where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids this week. And then you have like these really big ups and downs, but it seems like as you wade that water, every low that you survive just makes you that much more survivable. And then the waves start getting smaller and smaller, where like your highs maybe aren't as high, but then your lows aren't as low. So it kind of like starts like this, like the first 2 years, there's like days where I'm like, all right, I better, get some money out of my savings account so I can pay my rent. And then it just all of a sudden starts to go like I'm never going to have to worry about that again if I just do all the right things, and you just go, oh, okay. Yeah. That's a little bump in the road. Like there's been times I've been more worried about my business than being closed for 2 months for COVID-19.
Yeah, well, dude, that's awesome. I mean, that's awesome to be in that position, because you like imagine COVID happened in your first like year. You're done. Yeah. But now you're just like, oh, this is just I'll just move with the water, dude. That's a really good observation, right? Like I've been in that position too, where I'm like, there were times and it's all in your head, right? But I was all mentally way more concerned than I am right now, or were with this. Like and you're right, dude. You're right, because you were able to go through those waves. That's a really good observation. This hit, you were just like, this sucks. This is annoying, but I'm good. I know how to make this good. That's a good point.
Yeah. You almost have to call its bluff though, too, because it's like, like not necessarily that there's like a slingshot of like more money on the other end of a low, but what I found is like your ability to like be more solidified after every low you have. It's like you redefine that low as this, all right, well, once I survive this, like where it's like you have these kind of like nights where you're like, I don't know if I can fucking do this forever. And then you get past it, and then you're in such a better place where you're never going to be that low again. And then it's like the next one where you're like, oh man. And then you're just a little bit higher. Like, even though it's undulating, it's like you're still going up in steps. It's just not linear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. That's kind of what I found, especially in my market. And like they say, it's like once you can kind of get past in martial arts business, if you can get past 5 years, that's usually the marker of you're going to be okay. Barring something super disastrous, or if you just get tired of doing it,
Yeah, I think that statistic actually, I mean, maybe it's specific to martial arts too, but I know the statistic with like business in general was 90% the first year, and then of the survivors of the first year, 90% within 5 years. So if you get the 5-year mark is really significant in like if you survive the first year and then you survive the 5th year, you're like, you figured you did something really right along the way to know how to survive. But those numbers were, and that accounts for every mom and pop. Like those statistics are a little squirrely because you're like, somebody that opened up like their home business that, said they have a business, they formed an LLC and they registered it and never did $1. That counts those people too. But for there is definitely a volatility period between year 1 and year 5. And if you can survive the learning, it's really just a resilience test. It's just 5 years of resilience. Like, how tough are you? And then after that, it's like you probably anything you did dumb enough to screw yourself up in the first 5 years probably won't happen again after year 5. You figured it out. And it's about growing, right? I mean, that's survival, though, man. You're like a white belt for 5 years, and you're just like, all right, I'm cool. Like, I get it, and now I can like attack something, and I can string a few moves together, and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. I think another thing too is just being smart with your money. I'd say the biggest change I've had in my life is when you do this is not living like a consumer. I'd say like when I worked before, a lot of times it's like you do things and you buy things and this and where it's like I use money differently, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
It's
like it's totally a tool. It's not really money the way it was before. It's not like this thing that you fear. It's not this thing that you're terrified to lose. It really becomes like a tool. Like it's just another resource that you have to, and it's like separate. Like your money in your own personal life is looked at completely different than the money in your business. It's like two totally different functions.
Oh, yeah. Your emotional connection to it it's different. Like you said, everything you just mentioned are all emotional connections to money.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, you know what I mean? Because it's like now when I have it, it's like I use it as a tool. Like, all right, this is serving this purpose right here versus I had a bad day at work. I'm going to go buy a new car and a jet ski. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, dude, it really does. And because it's weird because I don't really think of it that way anymore, but that's oh wait, hold on. We have this gentleman named Jeremy Reed jumping on. iScope Texas Firearms Instruction. I have been watching, so secretly or not secretly, I always like your videos. I watch yours and Jeremy's videos like all the time because I'm always on this stupid social media. And Jeremy's stuff is fun to watch. Like, dude, the guy got so damn good with a gun. It looks like an extension of his damn body.
It's amazing. It's amazing. The guy's putting in some work.
Have you shot with him? Have you gone? I'm sure you have, right?
Oh yeah. Well, it's just weird, man, because he was like first getting into shooting and I was still in the border patrol when I was like an expert shooter. And I'm like trying to like, hey, yeah, I'm Billy Badass. Now it's just like he's on another level. Just
well, dude, I remember watching you because I remember the very first time before you went to border patrol, I was like showing you like, my gun and stuff, right? And I'm like, how you handle it, right? You came back. I remember like the first time you pulled out your gun and like the way you handled it, I was like, what is happening? Like, how is he so fast and good? It was just like his natural flow to like handling the gun. I was like, okay, he's significantly better than me with guns right now. And then I picture like, and you trained hard with it. Like you
oh yeah.
And now I picture and I see Jeremy in like the competitions and everything. I'm like, gosh damn. Right? Like intense.
Literally training on the highest level of shooting, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I think it's a cool skill to have. I think it's like, it's like any other skill though. It's just like and it fits Jeremy so well with like his personality, like all those details, like those tiny details that he just like gets infatuated with. Perfect. Like the pulling a trigger. Everybody thinks that you aim a gun. It's like, dude, there's like 1,000 things going on in your hands that you can't even, or in your head, your stance, everything that.
Oh yeah.
And Jeremy says, look at that glorious bear. Whoops, I mean beard. Dude, we were talking about it earlier. You could not shoot through that. It's its own COVID-19 face shield, dude. You cannot, COVID-19 cannot penetrate that.
Believe it or not, dude, it got to the point where my wife was like, I'm not kissing you until you cut your beard. And I kind of did. Because the thing was just, it was so amazing. It was epic. And then
it was probably dangerous for her to try to kiss you.
Yeah, dude. It was.
Dude, I picture like in a Family Guy when Peter has those birds in his beard.
Right.
Like that's the kind of beard you need to pull that off right there. It's a mess.
Well, really, my gauge is this: is when guys actually can grab the beard and pull it up to try to choke me in jiu-jitsu, that's when it's time to cut it. That's when I'm like, all right, that's enough.
And did that happen to you?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I had it real good. I had a real big one like this, man.
Oh my God.
It was all like this in my head, and they're pulling it, and I'm like, they're gonna rip my freaking beard out, man. And so I was like, I went and had it trimmed professionally, but because of the COVID thing, I tried to do it myself, and I went a little too short. But now that the barber's open, he fixed it. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that.
Yeah, dude, it fits the strongman look, dude. I like it. You got the
kill
with the beard.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because now when I shave it off, I look at my chin. I'm like, man, I got a weak chin, dude. It looks like tiny because I'm used to this giant thing here, like what is it? Who is the guy from Marvel? The bad guy?
Oh yeah, Ryan. Right? Who's Thanos? Thanos.
Yeah, like Thanos.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I had a pretty good. I had a good beard up until about about a month and a half ago too, and I shaved it. I was like, did I just cut my chin off? What happened? Where'd it go?
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. It was
become the most Texas conversation we've ever had on this show.
Very Texas conversation, yeah.
Yeah, dude. One time, there's like this meme with Conor McGregor where he has this beard, he looks tough, and they cut it off, and he has this chin that's like all the way in, and it's just like that's exactly how I feel when I cut this damn thing off, dude.
Your manliness goes away with it. It just leaves you. It just immediately leaves you.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so now, as far as I don't know, as far as you guys' market and things like that, I always use that word pulse for kind of gauging what it is that people are wanting to do. How do you guys adjust for things like that? So, like for example, like you talked about like a lot of times I feel like what I do is obviously my main thing is jiu-jitsu, but I'm always kind of looking for the next thing. So it's like I'm doing things that are a little bit outside of the box. I'll get certifications in like, Krav or knife or things like that I think that there might be a market for. And kind of like feeling it out, playing with it with some people. Like, for example, like my next thing is just like, possibly getting a bunch of kettlebells and start running kettlebell classes. You know what I mean? And expanding that market. So what do you guys do and how do you gauge like reading the pulse of your audience and how to provide for them?
Yeah, I think at this point, because we have such a huge reach of our distribution list is like 130,000 people or something with like email and stuff. So like when something is right, when we test something, maybe it's like a different email campaign, or maybe we're trying to get this or that, we find immediate feedback. Like it doesn't take long to know like this works. So if you have like enough exposure to anything, I find in general, like it's basically a testing ground. Like we have so many people that we can expose to at any given time that you get feedback so fast, as opposed to if I can only expose to 10 people, I really want to expose to 20, and then I have to like build that up, and it takes time. And can I really say that the 3 of the 10 speaks to the sample size that I need? But when you have hundreds of thousands that you can send out to, it's like when we send out a campaign of some sort, we're like, that worked, that didn't work, that worked, that didn't work. So I would say the first thing that I really think we've focused on has been, and this is just wasn't intentional, but our exposure level in our marketplace is so high that anytime, and things fail too. Sometimes you send something out, you think it's a great idea, and you're just like, dude, we should have had way more response to that. This thing sucks.
Oh yeah, that's usually how it goes, is like not listening to what it is that you want to do, but like having that ability to be honest and be like, people, you think this is cool, but people aren't responding to it. Move on and do the thing that they're responding to. That's like
100%.
Your emotional connection to your own ideas.
Dude, the sooner you leave your own perspective behind, and you're open to everybody else's perspective in business, because your perspective doesn't matter, not yours, like mine. My perspective doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what I want. The only thing that matters is what the consumer is going to pay for. So it's just like my initial thought is like, this should make sense. Like in theory, this should make sense, and I feel like it would be like the perspective of like the end viewer. But like I never really can draw that conclusion until it goes out, and then either comes back fast, with success or it doesn't. And then you're just like, if you get like a lot of times people I find emotionally like pushed, like this will work. This is such a great idea. This is this. I'm like, that is only a great idea to you. And if you put a lot of stock and emotional investment into that, thinking this is like the be all end all, you're gonna be severely disappointed when you're probably wrong. Because like most things don't work out. Most things just don't work out. Like that's the other thing I tell people is like people get frustrated when they're constantly like, oh, this should work. This should work. I'm like, dude, 9 out of 10 things don't work. Like that's what I found. Most things don't. So it's really the same thing, the resilience game of those first 5 years when everybody told you no, and everybody told you your business is going to fail, and you're like, is my business? You know, that buildup of just like no, and like that pounding of that wall against you. That when you do get the yes nowadays, it's more like, oh, cool, that worked. Not like I knew it was going to work. It's more like, oh shit, that worked. Like cool.
Yeah, that's right. And then you run with it until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And then you adapt to the next thing. That's it. Yeah, exactly. Like you're going to run its course. I literally this morning was talking to Ryan about our email system, our email program. And I'm like, hey, you know, this thing's been working for a very long time, but like, are we seeing like a decline? Are we doing this? Like, should we look at another one? And it was just seeing it until it worked. And then Ryan had a good measurement for it. And he was like, nah, he's like, you know, this is what we're seeing on the increase and so forth. So, you know,
your point is that even things that you think are working, you want to double check on them, make sure they are still going the way you think they're going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I never think I'm smarter than I am anymore. Like, because things I think I know, I usually, you know, I always say the market corrects an ego so fast, you know, like any market you're in, like if you think you're better, you're toast, man.
I agree. I mean, I even think of an analogy, just like t-shirts in my gym. So let's say, you know, I have a 200 member gym, and I'll come up with some idea, you know, kind of like get into my creative artsy side, and I'll make something, and I'm kind of like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. And then I'll have somebody else give me a couple of ideas, and then I'm like, all right, which shirt do you guys want? And like, usually it's not the one that I designed, but you're like, it's the other one. And you're just like, yeah, but I had all these great ideas. It was this, it was perfectly. And they're like, no, it's like, they're like, people are looking for these check marks of what they envision a shirt should be.
Yeah.
And then that's the shirt that they want. And you're like, all right, well, I guess that's the shirt we're making then. And then you make that so that I'm not like trying to sell shirts in 3 months at a discounted price just so I can make room for more merchandise. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And that's exactly what would happen. And even though in your head, when they tell you they like the other one more, you think to yourself, I kind of hate you right now. Like I hate you a little more. But I gotta go with what you're saying because I don't want to lose money. And me hating you doesn't mean my money is more important.
Yeah.
So.
Be clear. You know, well, you're talking a lot about failure. You know, and you know, I was thinking a lot about failure. You know, because like you were talking about weightlifting, so I'm trying to get a 500-pound deadlift, and I failed at it the other day. And so I always remember this. I go, as I was pissed, and I was this, and I go, okay, every failure gives you clarity. It gives you clarity. Because you hit a crossroads every time you fail. And if you're honest with yourself and you look at that failure and you go, well, you get clear about your goals, right? And you go, is this goal to validate me in some way? Or is this goal something else? You know?
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I've had times where even with the before I was in business in my career, where there was something that I really wanted to do. I trained extremely hard for it and I failed. I failed something in it. And so at that moment, it gave me clarity because at that moment, I realized that I wanted to pursue my business more than I wanted this other thing in my other career. And so not getting it was a huge disappointment to me. But I just said to myself, I redefined that failure as clarity. I go, it gave me a moment in my life where I said, is this really the thing that I want? And so I was able to make readjustments and be successful past that. You know, even with the COVID-19 thing, right? You know, membership's down and it's kind of a failure. It's a failure. And even though it's not your personal fault, the fact that you're not making that revenue that you had anticipated is a failure. And so it gives you clarity. And you go, well, what is it that I really want? And then so now you get to redefine those things where, maybe it's money, maybe it's running your business a certain way, maybe it's I got more time with my kids, so maybe I can give up a few pieces of this business and focus on how to buy back my time somehow. And so every time you have one of those things is look at it as a way to get clarity on the things that you really want and where you want to take it.
I like that, man. Yeah, that's so true. Like failure doesn't bother me as in like I get mad at myself anymore because I fail all the time. I mean, that's a really good in-depth way because failure is definitely every time I hit, the more intense the failure I have or whatever you want to call it, this, the more pivotal that moment becomes for me in the new direction that I'm going to go or what I have to do to pursue it or pursue something else. But it's the harder you hit that block, the more profound usually the outcome I have found will be in terms of whatever direction you decide to go. Maybe it is like, okay, no question, I have to get to that 500 deadlift. But maybe the thing is like, I am very clear right now that I do not care about a 500-pound deadlift. And that's really clear. I've definitely had that many times and it happens all the time. I actually embrace failures. I've always looked at it more like this is just one more thing I can rule out that doesn't work. And I can really check off the box to be like, this isn't going to work for me. Like, as opposed to if you half-ass it and then you quote unquote fail, you really don't know if you should have played harder. If you're like, look, I gave everything I have at this current moment, and this is what I know will take me to go further. Do I want to do that? But that takes 100% commitment to fail. That's I think what it takes, which is a really weird statement. Be like, I have to give you everything I got to do this right now, or else I'm not sure the next decision I'll make will be the right one.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I fucking totally agree. So yeah, man. Well, dude, gentlemen, I have to take off. There was a flood in my school, and so I gotta dry off some mats and do some emergency stuff before class tonight and stuff, man. But we got to get together again, man, and just talk about all the good stuff, man.
Never a dull or unfun moment when Jesse's around. So,
absolutely, man. You guys too.
Easily our best show, easily our best open mic yet. So, dude, anytime you want to come on, we'll let's do it again, dude.
Let's do it. I'm gonna copy this maybe and figure out how to do my own show too.
Whatever you want to do, man.
Awesome, brother. Hey, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
All right, later, man.
All
right, take care, buddy.
Good guy. Jesse, those are some of the most insightful bombs he's ever dropped that I've
good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he knows last time we had a conversation, we hadn't talked for a while. And then last time I talked to him, his business was in one place maybe a while ago. And then we recently spoke again. And I was like, you've completely grown up in the business world. Everything you've arrived, you're a full grown man, or whatever it is. And everything you can hear now as he talks is he speaks the language, right? It's just like the language. And that's a really hard thing to say until you're like, I've been cut, I've been bruised, I have scars, and I've survived. And this is what bothers me. This is what doesn't, whatever. So
I like his mentality of the whole COVID thing is like, he's looking at it in a way of, look at it as starting a business over, take wherever you are. And he's like, okay, here's what I got to do moving forward. Right. Like there's no, even if his revenue went to zero, he would still be like, all right, here's what I got to do. Like, that's the mentality you need here. Just be like, I'm just moving forward, right? I'm not giving up or anything like that. Yeah, I'm going to.
The only way to guarantee losing is quitting. It's the only way. I've always stuck by that. I'm just like, the only way this won't work out is if I quit. Everything else is a possibility, gives me a shot at hitting targets. So, all right. So that was an awesome show, a little longer than expected, but Jesse made it awesome. So, yeah, always good to talk to him, and he is a fun dude to hang out with. So El Paso, Texas, if you need to go to a gym, which everybody should, you need to go to Jesse's because I guarantee a good time, and he is a badass. I know we were talking about his lifting, but he's one of the most accomplished mixed martial artists and martial artists. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu will tie you up in a pretzel so fast you don't know what happens. So go to his gym. Anything else on your end, Ray?
Nah, good business talk today. Glad it happened. So,
all right. Till the next one.
See you, everyone.